So if your company operates with government incentives, there's a formal notice that can, well, put everything you've worked for at risk. It's called a Notis Tunjuk Sebab, and knowing how to handle it is absolutely crucial. We're going to break down what this really means for your business, and more importantly, what you need to do about it. It always starts with something that looks like this. An official-looking letterhead, a very formal tone. But please, make no mistake, this is not a routine compliance check. The moment this letter lands on your desk, it signals a very serious challenge to your project's incentives, and honestly, its entire financial future. So what exactly is a Notis Tunjuk Sebab? Well, it's a show cause notice. What that really means is a high-level government authority is officially asking you to justify, to prove, why you should be allowed to keep your approved incentives. And here's the kicker, you have a very limited time to respond. If your answer isn't persuasive enough, the next step could easily be a complete withdrawal of those approvals.
Okay, so that's what it is. But let's get to the important part, the so what. You've really got to understand the real risks here, because if you mishandle this notice, it can create this domino effect that goes way beyond just one single issue.
And this is exactly what I mean by that domino effect. It starts with the obvious one, losing your tax benefits, which, bam, hits your bottom line immediately. That, of course, messes with your long-term project returns. But it doesn't stop there. An issue with one government agency can start to create fractures in your relationships with other agencies. And that could put your ability to get future projects approved in serious jeopardy. The stakes, they are incredibly high. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because there's this huge gap between how companies think they should respond and what actually works. On the left, you see the typical approach, right? Treat it as a simple request for information. You gather up all the raw facts, the data, and you just send it off. But the reality of how these decisions are made is over on the right. Outcomes are shaped by the narrative you build, how you position your company, and whether your response actually aligns with the government's bigger policy goals. This isn't a court case, it's a strategic conversation. And that brings us to what is probably the single most important idea in this whole explainer. To get this right, you have to completely shift how you think about the problem. It is not what you think it is. So we've pretty much established what this isn't. It's not just a paperwork exercise. You can't just solve this by throwing a pile of data at it. This is a huge crossroads for your project. So the question becomes, what are you actually dealing with here? It's this. It is a regulatory positioning exercise. The final outcome has less to do with the raw facts and a lot more to do with how your case is framed, how it's managed, and how it's communicated. It's about strategically positioning your company and your project in the absolute best light, showing how you're valuable and aligned with what the country is trying to achieve. Okay, so if the problem is all about positioning, then it makes sense that the solution has to be just as strategic, right? This isn't about just firing back a response. It's about launching a controlled, persuasive, and really expertly managed intervention. Let's take a look at what that actually means. Look, a winning approach isn't guesswork. It follows a very clear, structured process. First, you have to diagnose the real exposure, what's really at risk beyond just the surface-level stuff in the notice. Second, you reframe the narrative. You turn that boring list of facts into a compelling story. And finally, you strategically manage the submission itself and all the engagement with the authorities.
And this really nails what separates a good outcome from a bad one. It's the difference between just explaining yourself versus having strong positioning. It's about having a crystal clear, consistent story that you tell at every single touch point. And crucially, it's about properly managing those regulatory relationships backed up by perfect timing and coordination.
And this is really where getting the right kind of expert, strategic guidance becomes so valuable. A winning approach delivers on 3 key fronts. First, strategy, building that controlled and persuasive response. Second, positioning, actively managing how your entire case is presented to the authorities. And third, alignment, making sure every single email, every meeting, and every document all tell the same powerful story. Now, knowing all of this is great, but it's not enough. When you get a notice, Tunjuk Sebab, you have to act, and you have to act fast. The clock is most definitely ticking. I really can't overstate this. From the second that notice hits your desk, a clock starts. This is not something you can put on the back burner. The window you have to actually shape the outcome is incredibly small, and every single moment counts. Timing isn't just important, it's everything. And here's exactly why waiting is such a bad idea.
that official response window, it is very, very limited. And the story that gets established right at the beginning, that early positioning, is going to heavily influence the final decision. Every day that you delay, you lose flexibility and you lose the chance to get out ahead of the issue. A reactive response is a weak response.
So this all comes down to one simple question you have to ask yourself. As you're looking at that notice, are you getting ready to write an explanation, or are you building a strategy? Because I promise you the answer to that question is going to determine the outcome. So let's wrap this up with the most important thing to remember. While a notice Tunjuk Sebab is a very serious challenge, it is absolutely manageable. But, and this is a big but, it is not routine. It requires a specialized approach that's frankly beyond what most internal teams are equipped for. At the end of the day, the difference between keeping your incentives and losing them, it all comes down to how the situation is handled, right from day one.